Hello everyone, good day sa inyong lahat. Kamusta tayong lahat? What we are going to discuss this moment is about the policy process which found in your module 2. As far as you know, we already tackled few of its concepts and procedures, but this time I will explain it in detail. This presentation contains the following topics. We have the policy process framework and the policy cycle. Under the policy process framework, we have the policy functions, perspectives, and competencies. While on the policy cycles, we have the identification, agenda setting, formulation, legitimation, implementation, evaluation, change, and termination. So let's start with the policy process framework. Under the policy process framework, it goes something like a pyramid model, wherein policy functions, policy perspectives, and policy competencies are found. Last time, the presenters from your groups discussed about the policy cycle, which is similar or related to the policy functions. But what could be the difference between the two, the policy functions and the policy cycle? Pag sinabi kasi nating policy cycle, it is the process. So it contains a procedure. Pag functions, it contains the roles of makers. So policy functions include the agenda setting, policy formulation, decision making, policy implementation, and policy evaluation. All of these are the roles of makers. While the policy process is similar to the functions, it is different in its procedures. So policy process contains, or the policy cycle contains the problem identification and agenda setting. Policy formulation and legitimation, policy implementation, policy evaluation, and policy change or termination. What's the difference? When we talk about policy functions focuses on the core tasks or roles involved in policy making and managing public policy. On the other hand, policy process focuses on the sequence of stages that policies go through from start to finish and sometimes back again. It's more on it's more about how policies move forward over time. So these functions, as you can see, the policy functions, we have the agenda setting. Let me highlight that. This is the policy functions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These functions are the major tasks of policymakers. To implement these functions, they are bounded by different perspectives. So meron kanya-kanya silang pananaw, meron silang kanya-kanyang viewpoints, either political, technical, or organizational. Pag sinabi natin political, who gets the job done? What are their interests? What are their ideologies? Technical naman is talks about giving the most benefits to the most people. How many people will benefit from it? So it provides or it involves clear and logical thinking. It involves numerical data. It involves logical thinking to the facts or to the numerical data within a policy environment. Organizational looks about how government office or agency is set up and run. Just like for its structure, rules, it means or uh, uh, money, what else? People, and any other changes within an organization. When you talk about organizational perspectives, it means public managers should not just manage day-to-day tasks, but also think about bigger challenges and opportunities that affect the whole organization. In order to create a rational decisions or policies para makapag-formulate sila based on their perspectives, they should possess the necessary competencies or skills. Meron diyang analytical, managerial expertise, and policy acumen. And under analytical skills, policymakers should know how to evaluate and diagnose a situation. Ano bang mga situation? Ano bang mga issues ngayon na kailangan nilang i-diagnose, which involves analytical thinking? For example, is the West Philippine Sea issue, the war on drugs issue, the impeachment trials issue. So napakadaming issues na kailangan ng analytical skills. The second is managerial expertise. It's about the knowledge about management functions. Pinag-usapan nyo to sa organization and management, as well as the other major subjects in public administration. Ano ba yung mga management functions na yan? We have planning. Dapat daw mga policymakers ay marunong mag-plan, mag-organize, mag-staffing, mag-directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. We have also the policy acumen. Ano naman tong policy acumen na to sa taas? So dapat daw ang mga policymakers have the knowledge and experience in the policy process, including knowing the interests of the stakeholders. So, ibig sabihin, kapag daw namili tayo ng mga policymakers natin, meron silang ganitong skills, analytical, managerial, and policy acumen, in order to implement these functions. Paano nila magagawa ito kung wala sila nito? Tatlo, di ba? Wala silang kaalam-alam, wala silang experience, hindi sila marunong mag-critical thinking, wala silang alam sa pagpaplano, organize, wala silang alam sa pag-staffing, directing, reporting, and budgeting. Relate ba kayo? So, reality, ang mga nasa position ngayon ay maraming kulang dito sa knowledge, policy acumen, maraming kulang sa analytical skills, and maraming kulang sa managerial expertise. Pero ang pinakamaraming kulang dito sa taas, policy acumen. Policy acumen. The knowledge and experience in the policy making. The reality is, ang mga ini-elect mo natin ay walang knowledge and experience. Basta sikat, pwede na. Basta kapamilya, sige, kayo na, sige na. Diba? That is the framework should be in our Philippine setting, Philippine League policy making setting. So, kamusta ba ang ating policy making bodies? Kamusta ba ang Pilipinas ngayon? Welcome to the Philippines. Next, we have the policy cycle. Isa-isay natin to. Problem identification, agenda setting, policy formulation, legitimation, implementation, evaluation, change, or termination. Let's start with the policy cycle on problem identification and agenda setting. So sa tingin nyo, madali lang to. Mag-identify, maglagay ng mga agenda. Pero let's dig deeper. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin nito? When we talk about problem identification, it's the determination of societal issues that needs government action. Mga issues na kailangan ng action, na kailangan ng response from the government. So pag sinabi naman natin agenda setting, when the government begins to give serious consideration to the problem, naka-identify ka na ng problema, and then here comes, ilalagay mo siya sa policy agenda. When government begins to give serious consideration, pag na-notice yan ng gobyerno, they will include it in their policy agenda. Example, try to spot an issue in our society that needs government action. Magbigay ka ng issue kung saan, sa tingin mo, kailangan ng action ng gobyerno. Let me give you an example. Increased number of road accidents. So, madaming mga na-aksidente sa mga daan. Bakit kaya? Kasi walang signage, kasi walang hazard. Sometimes, masyadong makitid ang daan. Baku-baku ang daan. So, anong gagawin nila? Build, build, build na naman. Diba? Ano bang mga issue na kailangan ng government action? Yung issue ngayon ng flood control. Very famous. Diba? Next is inflation. Yan, mga kailangan ng aksyon ng gobyerno. Wage hikes, yung mga sahod, 'di ba? Until now, ganun pa rin ba? Yung iba tumaas na, yung iba wala pa rin. Sa Manila tumaas na rin. Dito tumaas na rin sa probinsya. Dati 200 plus lang, naging 300 plus, ngayon 400 plus. Now, how are we going to identify a problem? Ganon-ganon na lang ba? Magbibigay tayo ng issue and then that's enough in order to make a problem part of the policy agenda. So nabanggit ko na sa inyo to dati. So syempre kailangan natin ng tools. Anong gagamitin natin in order to identify a problem? Hindi basta-basta nakita mong problema, yun na talaga ang problema. Let's say for example, we have the root cause analysis, problem tree analysis, and the Ishikawa diagram or the fishbone diagram. So aside from that, ano pong mga bagay na pwede natin gawin para makapag-identify ng problema sa gobyerno, problema sa society natin? Aside from mga didiscuss natin. We have here the root cause analysis. Sa taas, mga sintomas. Sa baba, anong mga cause? So, diniscuss ko na to sa inyo dati. And then we have also the example of root cause analysis. Ito yung study ko last time. Yung pinaka nakita kong problema is nandito. Pero meron palang mas malalim na problema. Mga rason. At ano yung naging epekto. Yan na. Diba? So, napaka-komplikado minsan. Kailangan mong mag-brainstorm. Kailangan mong mag-analyze. Ano nga ba talaga yung problema? Problem 3. Yan. So, inulit ko lang. Causes, effects. Example, increase in number of complaints and claims made by customers or clients. Bakit nga ba maraming complaints? Kasi poor quality yung product. Yung after sales service, walang bumabalik, walang hindi efficient. Mataas masyado ang presyo. Kaya maraming complaints. Akala mo yun na yung problema? Hindi, marami pa. Bakit kaya walang nagsiservice after sales service? Kasi walang tao. Yung attitude nila hindi maganda. Bakit poor ang quality ng produkto na nakuha mo? Kasi product is damaged very quickly. Delayed product performance. Hindi masyadong naasikaso yung quality ng produkto. Not enough productivity and etc. Napakadaming factors. Another thing is the fishbone diagram. So makikita mo dito yung effect, the problem, pero may mga causes, para siyang root cause analysis, pero iba yung disenyo, iba yung design. So that is the fishbone diagram, also known as the Ishikawa diagram. Lahat ng tools na ito ay ginagamit para saan? Para magkaroon ng research. Aside from fishbone diagram, problem tree analysis, root cause analysis, is meron tayong research-based na pinanggagalingan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng policies. So, kaya nga lahat ng policies are based on research. Bakit ka nagpo-formulate ng policy? Kasi meron kang pinag-aralan, meron kang in-study, meron kang data, meron kang results. So, hindi basta mag-propose ka na lang ng batas na wala ka ng basihan. Diba? So, lahat ng results dito sa tools na ginamit mo, pupunta yan sa research. Magkakaroon ka ng implication, interpretation, recommendation, and that will become your policy proposal. Kaya nga tayo nagre-research. Ngayon, there are obstacles in problem identification. Sa dami ng mga problema sa mundo, problema sa bansa, ano kaya yung mga pwedeng obstacles in problem identification and agenda setting? Una is problem opinion. Pag sinabi natin public opinion, I should say. So, public opinion, the public have different opinions other than that of the government. And as such, it might include the protest against that which the government has formulated or about to formulate. So, madaming opinion ng publiko, comments sa Facebook, comments sa YouTube, ang dami-dami. Ngayon, anong magiging resulta nun? Paano mag-identify ng problema ang gobyerno sa dami ng mga nire-reclam? Siyempre, magre-research sila, gagamit sila naman ng mga tools. Kung maraming public opinion, magsa-survey sila, and then they will tally it, and then they will come up with a data. And that will become their basis. Kaya nga obstacles ang public opinion kasi napakadaming opinion, napakadaming pwedeng comments, napakadaming pwedeng insights. Lack of involvement of stakeholders. Bakit obstacles ang kawalan daw ng partisipasyon ng mga stakeholders? Kasi when they consult you, when they conduct public consultations, assembly meetings, hindi kayo uma-attend. Gaya ko. Parehas tayo. Hindi naman sa consistent. Hindi lang tayo consistent kasi, di ba? Pag uma-attend ng mga public consultations, o merong post si mayor, merong post si barangay captain, may assembly meeting daw tayo, pero hindi tayo ma-attend. Bakit? Kasi busy tayo, kasi meron tayong maraming rason. Diba? Obstacle yon kasi yung mga policy makers hindi nila ma-identify ano ba talaga ang problema because we are not attending, we are not participating public consultations. Political culture. Governments are formed through different political parties that won majority votes in the general elections. So, ang political culture natin, napakadami natin political parties. Party dito, partido ni ganyan, kung ano-ano lang party para lang makapag-party. Di ba? Kung ano-ano lang mga partidong lumalabas, tayo naman, go tayo ng go. Pambihirang kultura yan. Sa dami ng mga interest, groups na yan, daming mga interest, mga iba't ibang partido, di mo na alam kung anong uunahin mo. Lack of professional skills. Some of the legislators have little or no understanding of the weight of their assignments and are not well positioned to meet increasing demands and need for political expectations. So, bakit obstacles ang kawalan ng skills pagdating sa problem identification? Siyempre, kung wala kang alam sa gagawin mo, paano mo matatapos yung trabaho mo? Diba? Kung puro action lang ang alam mo, kung puro arte lang, kung puro pagwapo, paganda, paano mo matatapos yung pinapagawa sa yung policy functions? Wala. Reality yon sa atin ngayon. Yung daming nakaposition ngayon na walang skills, walang professional skills. That is because of you. That is because when you elect them, when we elect them, we are not considering these factors, their skills, competencies, knowledge, experience, etc. Obstacles number 5, lack of political will. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Lack of political will means leaders or decision makers are not truly committed to pushing a policy forward from start to finish. Kunyari, maraming batas na ipropropose. Yun pala, walang nangyayari, hindi din pala itutuloy. Kaya nga madaming nakatinggang House bill eh. Ang daming nakatinggang Senate bill. Hindi dahil na-disapprove, kundi walang gustong magtuloy. No one wants to continue kung ano yung nasimula na. First reading lang, tapos wala nang sumunod, no? Even if a policy is well designed, it can fail if those involved, like lawmakers, government officials, or agencies, don't put in the effort to make it work. Ang ganda ng policy, ang ganda ng proposed policy para para may address yung identified problem. Ang problema, agenda setting pa lang, hindi na umuusad dahil may mga lawmakers na pansariling interes ang ginagawa. Pero di naman lahat. Dimensions of a problem. Una is causation. Ibig sabihin, what causes the problem? Where did it come from? Yun ang naman yun. Example, unemployment. Yung high unemployment may be caused by a lack of jobs, poor skills or trainings, or weak economy. And then the policymakers need to know the cause before acting. So kailangan muna nila, kaya nga meron tayong root cause analysis, di ba? Next is the nature and scope. What kind of problem is it? Anong problema talaga yung ina-identify natin? What kind of problem? And how wide is it impact? How wide is its impact? Gaano kalawak yung epekto ng problema na yon? Sa syudad lang ba? Sa rural community lang ba? Or buong bansa ang naapektuhan? Or buong rehiyon? Tractability or the main ability to solutions. Can the problem be solved? How easy or how hard is it to fix? For example, flooding can be reduced by building drainage system. Tractable siya. But the question is, but the climate change is harder to fully solve because it requires global cooperation. Ang dami nating proyekto sa flooding, pero ang totoo naman is yung climate change yung problema. And yung climate change, hindi natin ma-address yun kasi ang mga tao hindi prepared. Mas kawalan ng cooperation, kawalan ng participation. So ang question lang dyan, can the problem be solved? Masosolve ba natin yung problema sa baha, problema sa aksidente? Kung hindi natin tinitignan yung pinaka-cost and nature and scope ng problema na yun. Next is severity. Pag sinabi natin severity, how serious, how urgent is the problem? Seryoso ba talaga yan? Baka sinasabi natin, sahod ng mga government officials, napakababa. Seryoso ba talaga yan? Ano pong mga pwede natin i-question? For example, a dengue outbreak in a city is severe because it can cause deaths quickly. So it demands immediate government actions. So pag sinabi ng health kasi, pag pinag-uusapan ng health yan, masyado ng crucial yan. Kasi nga, dengue outbreak. Madaming nade-dengue, madaming nako-COVID, ganyan, di ba? Severity, gaya nung pandemic, severe yun. And kailangan ng agarang solusyon. In short, pag sinabi natin causation is what caused it? Nature and scope, what kind of problem and how big is the problem? Tractability, can we solve it easily? Severity, how serious or urgent the problem is. Kapag nalaman natin na lahat ng problema na yon, yung problema na gaano ka-severe, ano yung nature, ano yung cost, it will be included in the policy agenda. Ano ng policy agenda? When we talk about policy agenda, it is a range of salient issues where government and decision makers concentrate on. It is composed of demands that policymakers agree to consider. Yan. So, lahat ng mga demands, lahat ng mga issues nandyan sa agenda na yan. Parang nagmi-meeting lang kayo, mayroon kayong agenda, ito yung mga pag-uusapan natin, ito yung mga topics na i-discuss natin, pagdedebatehan natin. Parang ganun lang. Types of policy agenda. We have systemic agenda. We have also, unahin natin yung systemic agenda. Pag sinabi natin systemic agenda, it is the issues perceived by political community as meriting public attention in involving matters within governmental authority. So, kailangan ng public attention. Kailangan ng governmental authority. Example is environmental protection. Madami nang nag-illegal logging. Kaya ang ginagawa nila is maraming pinapadalang DNR para mag-check sa mga kabundukan, especially sa mga, kunyari, sa Benguet, di ba? Daming mga illegal loggings. Drug abuse, systemic siya. Bakit? Kasi kailangan, it requires public attention. It requires governmental action. Yun yung policy agenda na. Dapat kung ano yung problemang nilalagay mo sa agenda is dapat talagang it merits public attention. Institutional agenda or governmental agenda. These are problems where legislators feel obliged to give active and serious attention. So example, budget, appointments, proposals from agencies, and interest groups. So merong rally. So ang gagawin mo is to act on it. It may not like meriting public attention or involving governmental authority, but it can oblige legislators to give active and serious attention. Kasi nga, sobrang dami ng gulo, sobrang daming, marami ng corruption. So, within the institution, within an agency, within an organization, pagdating sa budget, pagdating sa appointments. So, kailangan na nilang i-include sa policy agenda. Pag sinabi mong institutional agenda or governmental agenda, commonly yung mga proposals from agencies. For example, yung mga GAA natin, bago maging GAA, syempre, ang kongreso natin, magre-receive yan ng mga proposals from agencies, yung mga kanya-kanya nilang budget. Lahat yan ilalagay sa agenda nila. And that agenda is called institutional agenda. Unlike yung mga issues, problems na gustong i-address ng mga lawmakers natin, systemic agenda yon. Kasi nga, more on societal issues, more on the issues na kailangan ng public attention, kailangan ng governmental authority. Ito naman is more on the organization. So, kailangan magbago ng polisiya pagdating sa civil service. So, yan, nilalagay yan. Ngayon, kapag meron ng agenda, anong nangyayari? Anong proseso? The agenda setting process involves 3 streams of information. Sabi ni John Kingdon holds that agenda setting can be viewed as comprising 3 mostly independent streams of activity. We have the problem stream, policy stream, and the political streams, which occasionally converge, opening a policy window and permitting some matters to reach a governmental agenda. Isa-isay natin. Pag sinabi natin problem stream, ang sabi ni John Kingdon is, ito daw yung mga nangyayari. Paano ba, ito daw yung mga kailangan i-consider pagdating sa agenda setting process. Una is yung problem stream. This is about what issues people care about. So, ano yung mga problema kailangan ng attention. And then policy stream. Sige, unahin mo na ito. Problem stream. This is about what issues people care about and want the government to act. Example, students complain about the rising cost of tuition fees. Hindi na applicable to kasi sa government natin, free tuition na tayo. So sa other schools, meron pa rin, syempre. For example, students complain about the rising cost of tuition fees. Parents worry about the lack of scholarship. This makes expensive education a problem. So that is in education. Pagdating sa health, people notice many can't afford medicine. This becomes a problem that leaders can't ignore. Ito yung problem stream to. Dito, dumadaan yung mga problemang nakalagay sa policy agenda natin. Ano naman yung policy stream? This is about the possible solutions to the problem, an available solution to the problem. So expert policymakers or organizations suggest ways to fix it. For example, to solve expensive tuition, proposals might include more government scholarship. So lahat daw ng mga kongresista o mga board members kailangan mag-provide ng scholarship. Karoon sila ng scholarship. So yun yung possible solutions pagdating sa tuition fees. Or pwede din silang mag-allow ng mga flexible payment plans para sa mga private schools, which is governed by CHED, di ba? So, to solve the expensive tuition, maraming proposals. Nandito yan. Policy stream naman yan, tinatawag. Political stream. Pag sinabi nating political stream is, this is about the political situation that affects whether the solution can move forward. Motivation and opportunity to turn it into policy. So, in other words, is possible ba? Kaya meron bang opportunity to turn it into a policy? Example, if elections are coming, candidates may promise free education because they know it's popular. Diba? Pag may election na, ang dami na lang pangako. If a new president wins with a healthcare for all, yung platform niya is healthcare for all, there's a better chance health reforms will pass. Public opinion and protests also push politicians to act. So nandito na yung personal, yung mga interest ng mga policymakers natin. Ito yung problema, ito yung solution, ito na yung interest ng motivation ng mga policymakers natin. So pag sinagsama-sama mo yan, magkakaroon ng policy window yan. Ibig sabihin ng policy window, it's the opportunity to create a policy. Pag sasamahin mo yung interest ng mga lawmakers natin, motivation nila, yung opportunity to na yung ngayon kakaya nila para mag-formulate ng policy, and then yung solution and then the problem, magkakaroon yan ng policy window. Dito ang target ng policy making. Yan yung magiging way para magkaroon ng batas. Yan yung policy window na tinatawag. In other sense, they call it the opportunity opening. This is when the problem, solution, and the politics all align at the same time. It is a chance to actually make change. So for example, yung problema natin kanina, tuition fees are too high. Ang solution, free tuition in state universities. And in politics, a new president wants youth support and pushes for it. So ibig sabihin, merong kandidato na gustong mag-push ng free tuition fee. O, di go. Ang resulta is free tuition fee. Ano yung policy window? Ano yung opportunity? Magkakaroon ng batas. Free tuition law in SUCs. Kakaroon ng free tuition in state and university colleges. Kagaya ng nangyari sa ating education system ngayon, which is free tuition na tayo. So, tapos na tayo sa problem identification. Dito na tayo sa policy cycle. So, before tayo mag-proceed dito sa policy cycle, actually masyadong mahaba na tong video natin. Let's end this video with the problem identification and agenda setting. The next video will focus on policy formulation. So, kung meron ka ng agenda, meron ka ng problema, ngayon, anong batas ang gagawin mo? How are you going to formulate? What process will you consider? Do you need to undergo before formulating a policy? Yun yung mga pag-uusapan natin later pagdating natin sa next video. So, with that, thank you so much for listening and sana na-review nyo lahat na ito kasi ilalagay natin to sa exam. Okay? Actually, nasa module nyo na to. Announcement, basahin nyo yung module nyo. Lahat ng dinidiscuss natin dito nandun sa module. And we're just emphasizing the things na kailangan ninyong maintindihan pagdating sa policy making process. Okay? Medyo detalyado kasi itong policy formulation and legitimation. Hindi na lang siya basta description, but the actual na nangyayari sa ating Congress, kung anong nangyayari sa ating bansa. Okay? So, yun lang and keep safe.